Hello there, I'm Iris, and yes, you did just click on a video of a grown adult woman talking about her favorite colors like it's the first day of preschool. So, congratulations. I think a good place to start with this video is just why this is a reasonable thing to talk about on my channel, and it's because I find myself really drawn to very specific shades, and I think that it sometimes leads me to purchase things that I don't necessarily want or need just because I really like that very particular shade. And I think that this will help me to be a little bit more mindful of that in the future. So without any further ado, let's just get into the colors. And I think we're going to start with the shade that is very nearly but not quite the color of the year. Now, Pantone every year comes out with the color of the year, and this year it is very Peri, and it is a periwinkle. It's not a super bold periwinkle, sort of a slightly muted take on that. And I would say that I might have already really liked this sort of periwinkle shade long before Pantone decided it was going to be the color of the year. So let's talk first about a nail polish. This is from Sinful Colors. This is their Essentials line. This one is lavender scented, and the shade name is Low Key Lavender. I don't care about the scent. I actually really dislike the scent of lavender, but this color, this is exactly the kind of color that we're going to be talking about. This, I think, is the closest item we'll be talking about today to very Peri. I tend to prefer my periwinkles with just a bit more gray to it, but this is just such a pretty shade. I find myself so drawn to this, and this has a little bit of a pink flash at certain angles, which is also very pretty. We're just going to keep talking about color because this is what drew me in with all of these products. And at least with something like a nail polish, the color really does impact the performance. I mean, I am wearing that color on my nails when I use that nail polish versus, say, this flower, what is this even called? There's Supernova Celestial Skin Elixir. This doesn't turn my face purple, which I suppose is a good thing, though that sounds kind of tempting right now. But I'm pretty sure that the color is like 80% of why I purchased this. I barely use it. I think you can tell that. I don't really have a whole lot of use for a face oil. I don't think my skin is quite dry enough to really necessitate it. And I get annoyed when I use this because I end up with quite a bit of glitter on my hands. It doesn't really show up on my face, but on my hands, I can see the glitter. So why do I let myself be drawn in by the purple when it has no impact on how it's going to perform, how I'm going to utilize the product? Someone explain it to me. Let's go with some jewelry next. I don't actually think I purchased these. I think my mom purchased these. But again, that same periwinkle shade. This one is actually pretty much spot on, that nail polish. It's such a pretty shade. I love it. And again, this does actually show up when I use it, so that's good. And it doesn't stop there. I've got actually a couple of shirts. I realized as I was getting ready for this video that I like my periwinkle tops enough that 2 of the 3 were dirty. So I only pulled out this one, but I love this. I love Argyle first of all. I love a short sleeve sweater. I love an old lady print, but the fact that this has periwinkle in it, yes. Just yes. So much yes. This color is the answer. I'm not sure what the question is, but I think that this is the answer. So, take that, Douglas Adams. It's not 42. And there is a little bit of more makeup in here because of course there is. So, I have an entire little periwinkle palette. This is in a trance from ColourPop. And the packaging is probably the most true periwinkle item here, but inside we have some contenders. We have this, I was gonna say this periwinkle shade, like, yeah, obviously this is the shade Up Level. We have Mind's Eye, which isn't quite there. This has maybe a little bit too much gray, but the vibe, the overall vibe is very much that very Perry shade. And I love it. I'm wearing just the highlight from this palette today, so just that white shade, which I've kind of stained, but you can see it there pretty well, I think. It's not a palette I use often enough, but I really appreciate the color of it. And I think the last shade we have to talk about is probably one of the shades that I've talked about the most on my channel. And this is from NYX. This is from their Nouveau Chic palette, which was one of their Art Pop? No, that's Lady Gaga. I don't remember what they were called. They were their 10-pan palettes that were art themed. This is just a stunning, stunning color. It's glowy, it's interesting. It's not so bold that I feel like I can't get away with wearing this in pretty much any situation that I want to. Just beautiful. I love this eyeshadow. This is probably my favorite eyeshadow from that entire palette. And that was my favorite palette for years. I'm not convinced that it isn't still my favorite palette. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous palette. If you have that one in your collection, I would strongly recommend pulling it out sometime. So I think that is what I have for this periwinkle shade. And by what I have, I mean what I pulled. Not every single thing I own that is that color, because I'm guessing that if I did another look around my room, I would find more. In fact, I know I would, because you can't see it right now, but I have a hat box that has a bunch of irises and forget-me-nots on it. And it's up on my wall. It has a lot of periwinkle in it. Probably put up a picture of that. But that's what I've pulled to talk about today for the periwinkle shade. Now let's move over to this dusty green color. And I basically pulled from the same little corners of my room that I pulled for periwinkle. So we're going to start with another shirt. This one, I actually have a shirt, I think, that's in a periwinkle shade. That is this same shirt. Universal Thread, I think, just knew my favorite colors. So one spring they made this exact shirt in like 4 different shades, all of which I love. And this is the exact kind of color that I'm talking about. It is muted. It is this sage green with quite a bit of gray in there. It almost reads as a neutral, but it is still very, very green. Gorgeous. Love it. Like I've said with periwinkle, I think sometimes it can get me to purchase things that where that color won't impact how it's used at all. For example, this Gucci scent. This is Memoire du Notaire. I actually do really like this scent, but I blind bought this. I just saw it on Nordstrom Rack and I was interested. Then maybe a week or so later, I saw a campaign photo from Harry Styles because he was the face of this scent. Probably still is, I guess I'm not sure. And again, I think it was just the marketing that pulled me in. Yes, I am a woman in my 20s. Generally, if I see Harry Styles, I investigate further. But I think what really got me to pull the trigger was the color on this. I love this glass green with quite a bit of gray in it. I think it's really pretty. And I love how it pairs with the gold. And we're going to see that in 1 second with the next pair of earrings. These I got at a thrift store, and I do wear them. So, not a bad purchase. In fact, very good purchase. But again, we have this green and gold. I think it's a lovely combination. I'm not sure what stone this is intended to look like. I'm thinking maybe jade, though I'm really not sure. I mean, clearly it's not a real stone of any kind, but it's very, very pretty. Love those. Really happy with them. And now we get to makeup. I have two slightly different takes on this gray, green, sage color. The first is from Sally Hansen, and this is the shade Time is Money. I have clearly used a lot of this. I got this sometime in 2020, and I am down to about here in the bottle. This is a really lovely shade, like I talked about with the shirt, though the shirt is actually a little bit warmer. This reads as a neutral, but it reads as a really interesting neutral. It isn't bright, it isn't super eye-catching, but it's one of those shades where you see it and it makes you want to look further. Love that. And this shade from Color Club, which is Lady Holiday, is in comparison a little bit more gray and a little bit deeper, but overall a pretty similar vibe. I find that this on my nails pulls a little bit more green than it looks in the bottle, but again, love it. Such a beautiful, beautiful color. Definitely something that I'm just so drawn to. And I have several eyeshadows in that same color family. I think we're going to start with a single that I recently purchased from Luxie. This is the shade Mint Chip. I think that's an interesting description because if I were asked to describe this, I wouldn't say this was very minty at all. I see a lot more gray in there than I really associate with mint, though there is some flip to it. It's nothing super pronounced. It's sort of a golden peach flip. It's pretty subtle. And even in the swatch, while I can see a little bit of that peachy gold, I think most of what you see is this silvery green, which love that. Love that so much. And like Periwinkle, I've basically purchased a entire ColourPop palette that is devoted to that shade. And this is the Child palette. Is this actually called Cutest in the Galaxy? No, I think this is just called the Child. But look at that. We have this shade up here, which is Right Hand Mando, which is probably the closest. Has a tiny bit more olive than I think a lot of the other greens we're going to be talking about have, but basically that same shade. And then Babyface is this Yoda Green. It is so cute. And again, right up there with the other green grays. I'm glad that I did this. It definitely got me to think a little bit more about why I purchased some things that I do. Originally, I was just intending on talking about colors that I like and I find myself purchasing quite often in makeup. And then as I was getting ready for this video, I realized that not only did those colors really impact my makeup purchasing decisions and my fashion purchasing decisions, they also impacted decisions where the color didn't matter at all. And I think I need to just keep that in mind in the future as I'm shopping, because, you know, we don't need another Flower Supernova Celestial Oil where I purchased it for the color and then I don't use it because it's not really a practical item for me. So I think that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If there is a color that you just purchase over and over again, I would love to hear about it. Please let me know. I'm not the only one. Thanks again for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed, and I really hope that I will see you in my next video. Bye!